Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a while. Hope you're all quarantining well. So I'm going to do a bit of a different strategy today. Usually I'll be playing fair interactive decks, but this time I wanted to try something a little bit more explosive. Um, so I've been kind of hopping around a lot, trying a lot of different strategies, and this one caught my eye. Something looks pretty cool, something I wanted to try out. So for those who don't know, Zirda has been one of the companions seeing a lot of play in Legacy because it can go infinite with Grim Monolith or Basalt Monolith due to its, we'll call it passive ability. So people have been using that, in a few different ways. And there's a few different ways you can kind of go with it. You can take a more controlling route and play Planeswalkers interaction, blue spells, white spells. Or you can take the complete opposite approach, which is what this deck is doing, and just go as fast as possible. So if you'll see, there's a lot of fast mana. There's Lotus Petal, there's Mox Opals, there's Lion's Eye Diamonds. And you have your 4 Grim Monoliths, your 4 Basalt Monoliths. You even have Simian Spirit Guide. And then you just have a bunch of top-end cards. You have both different copies of Karn. So you have Karn the Great Creator, which once you have infinite mana can either grab you a huge Walking Ballista from your sideboard or just put a Mycosynth Lattice into play as well. Then you also have this Karn right here, which its +1 can be card advantage, but I think most often you're going to be using it for the -2 to put, just giant constructs into play just because you're playing so many artifacts. And then you also have Mystic Forge, which, goes really well. You're playing so many colorless cards in your deck that, it's really easy to hit. Once you have a lot of mana, it's, you just get to start playing things off the top of your library. You can even use your keys to untap Mystic Forge to keep exiling lands off the top of your library, so you can keep going that way. I would say that this deck most similarly resembles this Mystic Forge combo deck that kind of became a thing right around last September, right before SCG Syracuse took place. I know that it got pretty popular, and Arilax ended up playing it at this event. Back then, this deck was fine, but I think once people were prepared for it, it wasn't that good. This deck obviously doesn't have the Zirda restriction, so it got to play things like Defense Grid and Chalice and Paradox Engine, which was a really big, powerful late game as far as, that was basically how you got infinite mana before Zirda was printed. And it also let you untap your Mystic Forge. Obviously, it would be nice to have this in the deck. We don't, so that's fine. We'll make do. So yeah, we'll see how this works out. If you look at the Legacy leaderboard, Flow True, the trophy leader right now, has been playing this deck quite a lot. And I think it seems like it's both powerful and lets you grind leagues very quickly. So without further ado, we are going to hop into a Legacy League and see how this goes. The matchmaker wasting no time. I would like to play first. This is my companion. All right. So I think with a lot of these decks, you kind of look at the deck and decide, what can it do? How much mana can it make? And looks like this one, turn 1's Basalt Monolith. And then turn 2, I'm not quite sure. So this is where my inexperience with these sorts of strategies kicks in. I have no idea if I'm supposed to mulligan this hand or not. It has ramp and payoff cards. Yeah, let's keep this. My opponent did not reveal a companion, which makes me think they are on something a little more combo oriented. If you're playing a fair deck, you kind of have to play Loris at this point. Or Zirda sometimes. Unfortunately, these Mox Opals aren't quite turned on, which is a big annoyance. Sometimes Mox Opal is just like the best card, and then sometimes it's a terrible card. In this case, it's really awkward because we have to crack our petal to play the Monolith, so the Opal just still is not turned on. But next turn we'll have 5 mana, maybe 6, depending on what we draw. The deck is a lot of mana. And depending on what we think our opponent's on, we could even try to go for the kill. And my opponent went to discard on turn 1, discarding a Phantasmagorian. So I would really like mana, which we've drawn. So let's just demonstrate the combo. And then one quick trick, doesn't save too much time, but it saves a little bit of time. I'm holding down the W key as I tap and untap this Monolith. So if I don't hold down W, it has me, choose which one I'm doing here. Whereas if I hold on W, it just makes mana when it's untapped and untaps it when it's tapped. So let's play Karn. We'll tutor for the Ballista. Sometimes the opponent will concede once they see that we have the Ballista in our sideboard. So I like to get it, a little early. Technically, if you were playing in paper, you'd make infinite mana first and then, do this stuff after to not give your opponent potential points of interaction, but it's just so unlikely that anything could ever come up to affect it that it doesn't really matter. All right, so they are on Manaless Dredge. Now, Cage is I think a powerful card, but you cannot bring it in because it turns off your Zirda. So that one has to stay on the board. So I think we're just going to bring in Tormod's Crypt and I don't know, maybe the Abrade? Let's see if we want to cut anything first. The answer is just probably no. We're probably basically just trying to go as fast as possible. They don't really play interaction. They could play, potentially, Force of Vigor, which is an annoyance, but they can't really play any permanent-based disruption. So I think I'm actually just going to cut this Abrade, bring in the Tormod's Crypt, and then call it a day. So yeah, these things like Pithing Needle and Ensnaring Bridge exist purely as Karn targets. You never really want to board them in. So yeah, let's submit. Could have given a small thought to bringing in the Ballista just as one extra payoff piece for having infinite mana, because Karn can still get the Lattice, which should lock up most games. If we have a game 3, I'll consider that. All right, what does this deck do? Or what does this hand do, I should say. So turn 1, let's see, we could play this. I think this is a mulligan. There's really no need to... Because at this point, we would have Mystic Fortune turn 2, but then we're just hoping to draw a Monolith off the top. This, I think, is a little better. plays Monolith turn 1, and then wins the game on turn 2. So I will keep. What do we bottom? I guess we bottom a Karn. So we're going to play this. I'm going to play this. Then we play the land. We play the Monolith. Lines of Diamond is basically a tool to it's a 0-mana artifact, turn on Mox Opal, and it goes well with Mystic Forge. Most of the time you are not cracking your hands to play the Zirda. So we are going to play Zirda. Red 3. Now, unfortunately, Grim Monolith takes a good deal longer than Basalt Monolith because you're only making 1 extra mana on each iteration instead of 2. So let's do the thing where we shortcut, play the Karn. If they don't concede, we'll just have to make, 44 mana or whatever. Not something I'm looking forward to, but, the opponent has every right not to concede. All right, they're a good sport. I appreciate that. So yeah, definitely this sort of deck will excel against decks with no interaction, which Manaless Dredge I would largely group into that category. I'm beginning to see why people like these strategies. So yeah, let's hop into round 2. I guess while we're waiting, one thing I will say. Oh, if I remember, I'll say it after this match. It's going to talk a little bit about the deck construction and why maybe red is a little bit better than white. If you're going to go one color. If all our opponents could all be on Manaless Dredge, that would be, a nice little league. But I'm less than optimistic about that one. I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling the philosophy of this deck is that you really don't have hands that can play through too much interaction outside of top decking more stuff. So you're going to keep hands that are explosive, and if the opponent force of wills your cards, you just hope to draw more cards before they kill you. So I think that's the heuristic I'm going to be using for these matches. If they start. my opponent is taking a while to get ready, which is fine. I'm sure they're just using the bathroom, getting a drink, something like that. All right, they are back. Loris. Okay, so it'll be one of those famed interactive matchups we've been hearing so much about. I think this is a mulligan, maybe. Because like turn one, we're basically passing, right? Like we're playing Mountain, Opal, Lotus Petal, and then next turn, we're playing City of Traitors and Cracking Petal for one of our 4-drops. And then Opal is just so far from being turned on. I think we can do better. I'm going to mulligan this one. Our opponent also mulliganed, which is nice. This one at least has more mana, so we can play potentially a longer game. That almost makes me want to keep. That does sound kind of reasonable. If we ever have too much mana, we can crack the Inventors Fair. I think this is a keep. I don't really want to go down to 5 cards. Question is what to bottom. Definitely a land. Maybe it's Lotus Petal. Because like this hand is not explosive. No, I think I'm just going to bottom this Great Furnace. Lotus Petal can help play around days and things like that. Okay. So this might not be a Delver variant. This might be either probably the mono white weenie variant. This is a mono white land. This is not a Miracles land. Yeah. That's good news, though. They don't have Force of Will in their deck. The bad news is they do have Wasteland. So what am I doing? I think I'm just playing Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, to help play around Thalia, and then I'm passing the turn. Next turn, I think I'm playing one of the Karns next turn, probably. Might just be Karn, Scion of Urza, just so that I can start digging towards the Monolith and then go infinite and kill them with Karn, second Karn. That's my guess. We'll see what happens. I'm a little less well-versed in the mono-white builds than I am, just like the Delver builds. So I'm not quite sure what to expect or what to be worried about, which almost makes me more worried. Fear of the unknown, Ghost Quarter. Looks like they're playing their Loris. And then they just get to replay the Lotus Petal. It's a nice little combo. Lets them spew out guys quickly. Guys such as Isamaru, legendary 2/2. I'm a little surprised my opponent isn't attacking. I really don't think that they should expect like interaction out of my deck. So this is awkward because if I tick up on Karn, it goes to 6, and then there are actually just 6 points of power on the table right now. Could tick down, make a 2/2, and then tick up next turn. Yeah. That's probably worth it. Huh, maybe it's not worth it because this can actually give protection from colorless, which will let them kill. Karn's not something I was thinking of. I was just so unlikely to get something good on the plus. I'm just gonna minus. I don't think I have that much better lines here. Kind of wish I was playing an interactive deck now. My opponent's taken 5 minutes to play 2 turns of Magic. So behoove me to play a deck that played longer games right now. But it is what it is. My hope is that this construct will get big. So this is going at Karn, this is going at me. Those are good attacks from my opponent. Thing is, if we draw red mana, or sorry, if we draw a monolith next turn, we do just win the game. You know, provided. It depends what they do as far as their mana situation is concerned. So, for those who don't know, the Zirda combo can sometimes win through instant speed reaction because they go to kill your Zirda, and you can just untap your monolith again if you have extra mana available. Copters, like that kind of matters, but not really. We'll see if they quarter us. Now I'm wishing I had bottomed this mountain so that if they have another ghost quarter, I can Yeah, this is really awkward. This requires 4 mana. So, I mean, we could just do it, right? So, right, this just gets an artifact. Okay, so we could just do this and get Grim Monolith, right? So we lose our City of Traitors, we lose this. We put Grim in hand. We have 2 mana, this Ghost Quarters, we get a mountain. We have 1 mana. That is 5 mana. That's enough to do it. I don't think it's getting better for us. We're taking a lot next turn. Taking potentially 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I don't think it's getting better. I think we just have to do this. Oh, God, I'm so bad. I was supposed to play out the Opal first. Because now they can Ghost Quarter my Inventors Fair. All right, they let me do it. All right, so, and we want to get Grim Monolith, right? So let's think. Or do we want Basalt Monolith? If we can cast it. So the Ghost Quarter here. We get a mountain. We play City of Traitors. We play Basalt Monolith. We have 3, 4, 5 floating. It is slightly better to get Basalt Monolith here, I think, because it lets us untap twice, which will let us win against a Swords to Plowshares. Whereas if we got Grim Monolith, we'd only have enough mana to untap once. I literally just said that, and then I clicked on the wrong card. Oh my god. That's so bad. Oh, that is so bad. Oh, that's so embarrassing. Oh boy. Do I want to block? No. I think I just want the Opal turned on in case something weird happens. And I'm winning next turn. I'm either winning next turn or losing next turn, so the 3 damage doesn't matter. I think Thalia would be really the only card I'm super worried about here. I haven't done the math if I can go through with Thalia. Yep. Haha. Saying I would really like a piece of fast mana. So I can't do it this turn, can I? Right, because I play Grim Monolith. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Play 3 for Zirda. Ugh, that's so embarrassing. All right, yeah. So next turn I'll be able to do it through some stuff, and I don't think I'm dead. Shouldn't be dead. So if this was Basalt Monolith, I could have played the city, played Zirda, had 2 mana floating, used 1 to untap Basalt Monolith, and then if they Caracas, I can untap it again. I guess that would have lost to Swords to Plowshares too, but whatever. Now I do need to block one of these, so I will. They could swords, but I'd be at 12. So they can't kill me. Obviously, I will block the higher power guy. Not that it really matters. Let's see what they discard. So what maybe was a misplay turned out to just be me playing around Swords to Plowshares, clearly. So you know, don't worry about that. I don't normally play colorless decks, so Giver of Runes is usually just worse than Mother of Runes against me, but it is certainly showing off its stuff here. Mox Amber. I guess it makes sense. You're playing Isamaru, you're not just playing it for no reason. Alright, so now we have ample mana to untap this Grim Monolith. So we'll untap it. And then we're just going to untap it again. And unfortunately, we're going to have to just make a ton of mana because we won't have another chance to, like, we can't do the courtesy thing where we show them the Karn and the Ballista and then keep making more mana because this will be in our hand at that point. I mean, I suppose we could play use Petal and Opal, but I think we just have to grin and bear it. We can't even just get like Mycosynth Lattice or Ensnaring Bridge because they have a board. You know, the more I think about it, the more you might just not want Mycosynth Lattice in your sideboard with this deck. It feels like you pretty much never tutor it. And you would just be better served having another sideboard slot. The one time I could see it maybe being relevant is against like Pithing Needle on Walking Ballista, or I guess there could be some corner case scenarios where, God, and they're at, with swords they could even be at 32, so we just have to make 68 mana here, God. Sorry, so what I was saying is there could be some corner case scenarios where like your opponent has a Collector Ufe or a Null Rod or something, but they have fewer cards in deck than you, and so you might just want to get Karn and tutor up Lattice to make everything an artifact, so neither player can cast spells, and the opponent decks first. Alright, I guess I've convinced myself to leave it in. Should I play this deck in the future? Alright, so I'm going to play a Walking Ballista for 32, which means I need 68 mana. And then I also just want to get a little more so I can recast Zirda should I have to. Okay. One thing that I really like about Arena that I think they should import into Magic Online is the sliders for your X spells. Like just being able to, yes. Just being able to say, okay, 5, 10, 15, 20 for this Walking Ballista would be nice. So one thing I was saying about the red that I like a lot is that you just get to play Abrade and Lightning Bolt as sideboard cards to both kill things and destroy things like Null Rod or something like that. So definitely am happy to have this Abrade. I don't really envision Lion's Eye Diamond being that important. Like, this isn't a game where you're going off with Mystic Forge that often. I think you're just trying to be fast and kill with one of the Karns. Maybe. But I am new to this deck, so I will admit that there are, aspects of sideboarding I'm not really sure about. I'll cut a Serum Powder and leave in one Lion's Eye Diamond. Generally, when I'm new to a strategy, I never like to cut every single copy of a card because, I don't know if it's correct to not have it. And one of the, really awesome and really difficult parts of Magic is that, every card you put in your deck will be useful in some scenarios. The difficult part is that you have to imagine kind of how often they will be useful and how likely it will be useful. And so without practice, you can't really make those assessments. Speaking of assessments, what does this? If we had a payoff, it would win on turn 1 because you would play City of Traitors, Grim Monolith, Basalt Monolith, Opal Spirit Guide, Zirda. That's probably not good enough now, though, because like the second turn, I would be able to then, with infinite mana, play Inventors Fair, sack it for Mystic Forge, and then start to go off that way. But that leaves Zirda open to like Swords to Plowshares and things like that. And I don't have any other payoff. Although I guess Mystic Forge itself is kind of a payoff. And we would have enough mana. We'd have like 9. I'm gonna keep this one. This could be very, very wrong. But we're gonna make infinite mana. We're gonna untap all our monoliths. And then next turn, even if they kill Zirda, we can still Inventors Fair for a Mystic Forge and then start doing cool things. Oh, wow. My opponent was offering to concede in chat, which is nice of them. Okay. So this might be very foolish, you know. I'm sure if you talk to Flotrue, although I don't know how much English he speaks, I think he's a Japanese player. But if you were to ask him if this was the right play, you know, even the keep in general, I don't know if you would get a yes. Because this is bad against Sword Supply Traders specifically. But my thought process was, given that I still can kind of get a payoff, it was probably worth keeping. And again, I'm still in that exploration mode. Okay. So now what we do... let's just untap this a couple times. I don't think it matters, but... Oh, wow. I don't think that was... It was not deterministic. Oh, wait, it was. Because we get Ballista. I'm so silly. Okay. Man. Don't you love when your opponents concede for you and show you the correct line to kill them? All right, we're out here. We're out here fumbling through this deck and having a good time while doing it. So the original list had a third Abrade where this lightning bolt should be, or where this lightning bolt is rather. And we decided to go with lightning bolt just because I think against Delver, mana efficiency is pretty important. That being said, you know, this deck is really all in on artifacts, and so having a way to kill No Rod is like very, very valuable. And because you don't have card selection, you kind of just need to draw it. So this could be a mistake on my part. We'll see. I do think the red cards are a really big positive that this deck has to offer. One thing I will say is that it feels weird not playing a copy of Caracas. Caracas just seems so useful in this metagame. And it's not like you're casting cards anyway. You're Ryan. Okay, so we are finally up against a Force of Will deck. This has a few too few mana sources to keep. Like you can play a Monolith on turn 1. I think this is supposed to be mulliganed. This is better. It has Monolith and a payoff. So this one's a keep. I think I mulligan the land. Yeah. And I think I'm just playing this out on turn 1. I guess I'll play the Opal. But I'm not casting anything yet. Next turn... I mean, next turn I could go for the kill. I could go City of Traitors, Monolith, hit Spirit Guide. Huh. Now I don't know what's happening. But my opponent is leading on City of Traitors, so something's happening. An 80-card Orion deck with Dark Ritual. Okay. Beginning of your upkeep. Okay, so I have a turn to do things. It's actually a pretty good draw, I think, right? Well, we'll see if they're a Force of Will deck. I'm just gonna make like 42 mana. I'll make like 44 mana and kill them with Ballista. So there was a mono black Curses deck that was like vaguely popular. Like last month. That being said, Orion is blue-white, so I don't quite know what's going on here. But Dark Ritual and Force of Will don't often go together. What I'm trying to say is I don't think I should bring in Pyroblasts until I see a reason to. Alright, so we're gonna make this for 21. And then have some mana left over and save targets. Okay. Probably still bringing up Abrade. And maybe that's it. Cut the Lion's Eye Diamond. Yeah. Yeah. If we see Pyroblast, or if we see blue cards, and if there's a game 3, we can get rid of the Serum Powders or something. I've not had a Serum Powder in my opener yet. But obviously, you know, with a deck as all-in as this, it makes sense to have them. What does this hand do? Probably not enough. Doesn't it really do anything on turn 1? It doesn't have a payoff. So I'm going to use my Serum Powder. Powder. Wow, that's really awkward because like we definitely have to powder this, but losing 1, 2, 3, 4 payoffs into exile is really rough. This is a keep. Depending on what we draw, we could even kill on turn 1, potentially. If we draw like a Simian Spirit Guide or a Lotus Petal. Boo! That's just rude. Well, this is turn 1 Karn. Question is, do we play the other key out? So 3. So this is 4, 5. It doesn't really matter, right? I mean, I guess it makes it cheaper next turn, so. Basically, the turn you play key, it only taps for 1 mana, but every turn after that, it taps for 2. This is the shortcut. So we're going to play this card and take up on their Chalice so that we can play our Opal, and also it turns off the Lotus Petal. And then next turn I think we'll win. I haven't done the math out yet, but the Manifold Key can also filter mana because it can untap a Mox Opal. So what we do is untap this. We have 1 colorless floating, and then we have 4 colorless, 1 red, 3 colorless, 2 red. I'm sure there's a way to win that I'm missing. I just want to, I'm sure we could just play this and win, obviously. But I would just want to see for future reference for myself. Obviously, we're never not doing this, so I'm going to do that. So I make a red. This untaps this. We have 2 red, 3 colorless. It's enough. It doesn't play around removal. Okay, so this is a win, but it dies to 1 piece of removal. So let's just play this because we can untap this twice. So we can beat a Swords to Plowshares. Nice. Okay. Sorry that took a while. I'm going to take a quick coffee break and then come back for round 4.